Says I am live. What's up, everybody? But I can't hear anything. This isn't good. Oh boy. It's already starting out poorly. Well, this is John Marks. This is my YouTube show. Let's see if we can't figure this out live on the air. Now it's plugged in. What's up, everybody? As my wife is texting me, I just asked her. I'm trying to get her to do wife talk. If you listen to my WIP show, I used to do wife talk, and I set the theme song to Bad Boys, What You Gonna Do? Inner Circle, the Cops theme. And I set it to, instead of that, it's a parody song. It was wife talk, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when your wife hates you? And I just asked her if she would do wife talk Wednesday. And she said, you want to do wife talk on Valentine's Day? And I said, no, I like the alliteration of wife talk Wednesday. You don't have to do it. And she says, every Wednesday? So whatever. What's up, everybody? It is a Monday night. If you're watching live on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, X, you're watching whenever. Hello. It is Monday night, and the Joel Embiid, we knew he was injured, and we had a pretty good idea that the season was in jeopardy. He may still not be out for the season. A lot of it depends on what they see when they go in. It's a meniscus flap. A displaced meniscus or displaced flap in the meniscus. When I think flap, I don't think meniscus, but that's beside the point. But what's up, everybody? Yeah, it sucks. I mean, it sucks. And we have a lot to get to here. We'll start with Embiid, Eagles in Brazil. I have maybe some thoughts or some possible news on something going on at the Fanatic. And some things from the Grammys last night as well. But yeah, so the Embiid stuff, and I mean, it happens again. I mean, it happened again. It's another serious knee injury. The dude's 7'2". He was having a historic season, and it's really disappointing to see him go from, just dominating the league again. And really, you want to give him that chance to prove himself in the playoffs, because that's really all it's coming down to is like you have to, even if it's the Eastern Conference Finals, you got to take that next step. So as much as he can dominate, as much as he can score 35 and average 13 or whatever he was doing, not getting past the second round, I mean, that's really what we're looking for. But the season, as much as I say hurry up and get to the playoffs, I've actually really, really enjoyed the season, the regular season, in large part because of Embiid and of course Maxey. But it's a fun team to watch. This is a real shot to the nuts, and it's it's not. The last week we talked about it. I had Devon Givens from PHLY Sixers, and he was quick to correct me and say, "Hey, it's not a meniscus tear yet. They took that down." Well, I mean, it's really semantics. It doesn't have a meniscus tear, but this is almost more serious, or maybe even more serious as a meniscus tear. So worst case or best case, he misses a month and a half, 2 months. Worst case, he's done for the season. So does this change what Daryl Morey does as far as the trade deadline? Does he look to now sell as opposed to buying or standing pat with Joel Embiid? I don't think he sells. I would I consider selling. I would maybe now look at Tobias Harris and see if I can't get a couple of young pieces or a young piece or some draft picks. I don't need guys on long-term contracts. But if you're able to get something, because I think he can be an important piece to a championship contender, but it just sucks. So we have Dr. David Chow. He's the pro football doc that used to be the Chargers team doctor who does a ton of media now. He was on with John Clark, and here's what he said.
We're looking at essentially the end of the regular season
Hopefully
with the possibility of return if things go in their favor for the postseason. But I don't know that I'd go so far as to say likelihood. And discretion is often better part of valor. You don't want to rush the big fella back for long-term detriment. And I'm sure the Sixers and Embiid will make the right decisions. But right now, it would be fantastic news if he could have this scope and return for the playoffs. But I don't know that I would count on it at this point in time.
All right. So the one thing that I'll disagree with there is the idea that Embiid is going to make the right decision. And this is honestly, and this is not a criticism of Embiid, but we've seen Embiid dictate playing while injured before, haven't we? So does anybody I mean, if it's a season-ending injury, it's a season-ending injury. He can't tear his ACL and be able to play. So if they go in and they're like, no, you're going to be, we have to like replace the meniscus or whatever it is, which is a real possibility. If that happens, all right. But if it's 2 or 3 months, he's going to be back. He's going to play unless you tell him otherwise. I almost wish that they just shut him down and get him healthy for next season. We'll have to wait and see. But it's been bad. It has. It sucks. It sucks that we have to go through this again. And now, like Maxi's a lot of fun to watch. I still like the roster. We know that this team probably isn't a contending team or an NBA title type team with Joel Embiid. They haven't showed that they are. So we are hopeful they are with Nick Nurse and with Tyrese Maxey. But it sucks. It sucks. It does. It sucks. So that's the Embiid stuff. We get the All-Star break coming up. We have the trade deadline coming up. I prefer to shut him down. I don't need Embiid rushing back this year. And I mean, I don't know if they're going to let him play if he's going to risk re-aggravating the injury. But it is he was on a historic pace, and you hate to see it end this way. You at least want to give him a chance to prove the doubters wrong, to look different mentally in the playoffs. Like, again, even in Eastern Conference Finals, for me, with a good matchup to get there, I'd be all right. I would have been all right with that this year. Now the details matter, obviously, but yeah, this not that. I mean, he normally has some type of an injury like this, and a lot of times you're holding your breath, saying, "Oh no, I hope this isn't the season ender." This feels most like the season ender that we've had so far of any of these Embiid injuries. And I don't know if people are starting to get to a point where they're saying, all right, well, and I know there's been trade talk after they lose in the playoffs, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm as frustrated as anybody else. But when the emotion calms down, you realize that it's not likely that you're going to find even close to the same value with Joel Embiid. Don't give me a bunch of number 1 draft picks or whatever else. So while I understand you're not getting past the second round, you could get rid of Joel Embiid and lose in the second round. Still, the best course of action is to keep Joel Embiid, continue to build around him, and hope that you find the right formula, the right bottle that gets lightning in it, the right coach, the right season, because his talent. When do you see talent like this in this city? It's once in a generation, Joel Embiid. He is a once-in-a-lifetime player. We had Allen Iverson, which is amazing. I got to watch Allen Iverson during his entire career as an adult. I didn't get to do that with Doc. Moses wasn't here very long. Mike Schmidt, I was a kid, and he's the first baseball player I really remember. But like as an adult, I saw Allen Iverson play, and I saw him fizzle out pretty quick early in his 30s. And Embiid has just been so good. You get to a point where you start asking yourself, well, like if you're way too long, are you risking not getting anything back for him? By the way, I'll trade Joel Embiid if it makes sense, if the trade makes sense. If you find a team that wants to do it and it makes sense, and I'm not going to like bring up some scenario, but like number 1 overall pick or whatever, I'm all in. I'm fine. I'm fine trading Embiid. I'm just not trading him to trade him. Your best scenario, your best course of action is still to build around them. And Maxey feels like the best piece that they've had, best young piece that's going to be here that they've had. Man, they just need another player or two. They just do. And this idea that Tobias Harris is going to be back next year, or maybe he's earning another contract. Man, like Daryl Morey's getting paid a lot of money, Daryl. Figure it out, brother. Figure it out. All right, so that's the Embiid stuff. How about the Eagles? Where did this come from? I didn't see this happening. I didn't even know, like, we don't know who they're playing yet, right? Like, so you have to understand my routine. I'm going to do this show every night at 9:00, Monday through Friday. And the reason it's 9:00, I am not a night person. I am a morning person. The reason it's 9:00 is my kids will definitely be asleep by 8:15 at the latest. 8:00, boom, good night. But the baby's sick again. My children have been sick for months straight, it feels like. But the baby's sick again. She's stuffed up, 2 years old. So they can't blow their nose. And she's congested. Anyway, they just can't sleep. So it's like miserable. I've been up 3 nights in a row. I'm going to be up again tonight. And so like 9:00 is going to be, that's when I'm going to do it. Because I know my kids are asleep and whatever else. So 9:00 every night, I'm going to be here doing it. But it also, like, I'm trying to get, if some stuff happens pretty much once dinner hits until 8:00, I probably don't see it because it's dinner, bath, I'm cleaning up downstairs, I'm doing the dishes, and then boom, I'm trying to get down here and set up for this for this podcast. So I saw that it was Brazil, and I'm like, no way, really? It's the opening game in Brazil. It's a home game. So I saw that. I didn't see if there was rumors about where or who they're playing. But I do know that Eagles fans in Brazil is a I don't know, man. I don't know if that's a good idea. So I'm assuming that my buddy Joe DiBaggio and fans of Philly and the other all the fan groups that go out there, whichever one you take, I guess there's going to be I don't know, like I guess there's going to be a lot of trips going there for Brazil. That's big money you can make. There should be a lot of open time. I mean, it sounds amazing. I actually would like to go. I'd like to go to London to see the Phillies and the Mets. That's the one trip I'd like to take. When the Eagles went to London, I don't know. Like, traveling with a football crowd is a little bit crazier than going with Phillies fans. So it was funny to see all the pictures of Eagles fans and Philadelphians walking around in Eagles jerseys around London. But can you imagine Eagles fans in Brazil? Oh boy, now get a little crazy. Now I'm telling you, it'll be scenic. Brazil has some nice sights. Jimmy Kempski actually checked in on Twitter. Says this is the beat writer's equivalent of winning a trip on The Price is Right, as he retweets the Eagles. Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles organization is honored to have been selected to play in the first ever National Football League game in South America. With the global growth of our sport being a top priority to our league, we embrace the opportunity to grow our fan base around the world and bring Eagles football to the 38 million sports fans in Brazil. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I think it's cool. And it always bothers me when they do the London game. And like this past year, Sean McDermott and the Bills, didn't they leave on Friday for a Sunday game? Right? Leaving Friday for a Sunday game. And I get it. These football coaches are miserable and they hate to have anything disrupted and their schedule disrupted. Blah, 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 blah. But you know what? Like, that, you got to look bigger picture. And everybody's got to do it. You have to embrace when you're going over and you're playing international games. Jeffrey Lurie could have not said anything or could have privately been like, ugh. You know, but I guess the owner, they love it. But still, like, as a coach or as a player, you're going to be inconvenienced maybe. But you know what? Like, take in the sights, bring your family, enjoy it. I mean, like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity as a football player. You're going to Brazil as an NFL player. So I'm excited for the Eagles to go to Brazil. I would not attend the game. I have no interest in going to Brazil. But I think it's pretty cool. So I'm sure there's going to be a ton of Eagles fans in Brazil. I didn't even see like what stadium they're going to be playing in or what the capacity is, because I know that they try their damnedest. In Mexico City, I think they had issues with the stadium and the turf, but it's got to be an NFL stadium unless it's MetLife, which they play on regardless. But it has to meet the standards of being an NFL city or an NFL stadium. So that should be pretty interesting. Wonder how many people will actually go to that. Anybody out there in the comments want to go to it? Yep, Tank will be out there. I agree with you, Adam. 100% Tank will be out there. He's with Philly Sports Trips, maybe, or Green Legion. I know there's a bunch of fan groups. I'm a fans of Philly guy. They do a great job. My dude Joe DiBaggio. I've been fans of Philly. I don't know how many times. They're the best. Honest to God. So that's what happened in Mexico. Shakira came and was dancing on the field and screwed it up. That often happens. Big Hugh. So that's the other question. Will Big Hugh try to go to Brazil? One of the reasons when I was not going to tell you that I was like, this went through my head when I was like, all right, if I'm leaving WIP and I'm not going to be there in 2024, like we went to the Super Bowl last year. We were going regardless of the Eagles. And I'm like, you know what? I could totally go to London to see the Mets and the Phillies as the flagship station. But no, I'm not going to be going now. Definitely not going to be going now, being that I am unemployed. And, well, I'm kind of employed. I have a couple things going on. Anyway, so a couple things on that. And we'll get to some other fun stuff here. I have some insights on what possibly could be happening at 97.5 The Fanatic in the near future. So like right now, where I am with this show, consistency is a thing, and I've been doing some of it at 1:00 when the baby naps, and some of it after the kids go to bed at 9:00. So I'm going to do Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. And of course, if you're watching right now, whether you're watching live or you're not, all my past shows are archived. They can be watched on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and follow me at John Marks Media on everything. It's across the board. You can also email me, johnmarksmedia@gmail.com. Email me with any feedback, comments. I want to do a segment where I play some on my shows and talk about some comments about the show, whether it's on Twitter or whether it's on email. But you can say hello. You can see it right there. Follow and subscribe all platforms, John Marks Media. But also, as I put up the other banner here, where is it? There it is. See how cool this is. Good, bad, or indifferent, send your comments or just say hello. Email me, johnmarksmedia@gmail.com. Like, for real. Reach out. I love talking to the listeners and the viewers now. You're not just like listener, you're watching me. This is all new for me. Also, and this is you can turn on super chat. What's super chat? Here's John McCarthy. You can turn on super chat, John. So also, as we will be continuing to do this, and you know what? If I end up getting a job in the media at an outlet to where I don't do this anymore, then I'll have a show somewhere else. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I feel like this is what it's going to be. I feel like this is what I was destined to do, which was leaving WIP, not having a like boom, like slide right in. When I left the Fanatic in 2016, I didn't leave. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a wink with WIP, but I knew there would be some level of interest, and I ended up starting at nights before I joined Ike a couple months later. But there's not even like a wink, we want you. I really have left my job with kind of just saying like, hey, like I'm going to figure this out. This is going to be fun. I got to do it. But like it feels like to me, this is it. So I'm looking for a producer, a sidekick. I feel like it will happen naturally, and I felt like that it would happen naturally anyway. But I wanted to throw it out there to the email for anybody that maybe, and I use StreamYard, and I'm learning more on StreamYard. I've noticed people have been giving me credit for the screen share, so thank you. I'm learning to produce the program, but I'm looking for somebody that I need. It's good to have a conversation with somebody. It's tough to just talk here by myself for an hour And like I'll have guests on for content or really just guys to talk to. Black Grady joined me 2 weeks ago, and he was a lot of fun. Not even about sports, just about bullshit. But I would love somebody that's maybe trying to get into the business, or somebody that I don't know, just as like a sports radio fanatic or whatever, that is interested in just like networking and getting to know me. Maybe you're the person. Maybe I rotate a couple of people that want to be the quote unquote producer that can help me out with changing banners. And as I get advertisers, there's another one right there. And shopeverylittle.com is not an advertiser, but they're a sponsor. My wife's company for custom made shirts of all kind. Just go to shopeverylittle.com. So yeah, I'm looking for somebody that says, hey, like I would love to do this. This sounds like a lot of fun. Maybe this is my ticket into the business. And I'm not making any money right now, but if I start making money, then I'm going to at least try to give you some token money just as an appreciation. But so, I mean, that's really where I am right now with this. I have a name for the show. I'm working on a logo and getting an overlay so it looks really official, and then I can put banners and things like up there like that. And I'm still working on doing a background and everything. But yeah. So that's coming up. So again, just to say hello, comments, you want to rip me, you want to say show sucks, whatever, at John Marks Media on everywhere, or johnmarksmedia@gmail.com. All right. So there we go. Tucker Bagley from WIP. Well, he has a full-time job at WIP. So they're not going to, pretty much right now, anybody at WIP is not going to be coming on this podcast. Excuse me, this YouTube show. So I'm not allowed to do just a podcast. This YouTube show. Because I mentioned bankruptcy with the freaking company. Now I'm toxic to the company. So like whatever. But yeah. So anybody, just reach out to me. We'll try to figure it out. All right. So I mentioned some 97.5 news, some potential lineup changes. So the current lineup: John Kincaid show, Chunis, and then into the best show ever. So what I'm hearing is that there's not going to be major changes. There's going to be some shuffling of the deck, as they say sometimes in the business. So just going to shuffle the deck chairs. I don't know if anybody saw the article in the Inquirer. Scott Masteller, who is the program director for the Fanatic, he did a Rob Tourneau article in the Inquirer, and it honestly might have been the worst article I've ever seen. And this isn't a rip of Masteller, and I don't even want to rip Rob Tourneau. I almost feel bad doing it, but he's fucked me on a couple different times where he should be drawing cartoons and not writing articles, frankly. But Scott didn't really say a whole heck of a lot in the article, other than there's space for them in Philadelphia, and they don't have to necessarily try to beat WIP. But what he did say was that he did say that they're going to be hiring a full-time host. Now, I don't have any insight who that's going to be, but I can tell you that there is going to be. I'm hearing there's going to be some changes to the lineup without the best show ever. Best show ever? I have to use the question mark. Best show ever? The best show ever is not going to be changed, or there's not going to be anything going on with that show. So let me start there. I actually think it's an excellent move for the Fanatic. The last thing you can do is really have high turnover rate for different shows. You want some type of consistency, and I can't tell you that I've listened to the best show ever, a lot, or ever. Right? I was up against it. I have no interest in watching it, honestly, and that's nothing against Tyrone and Ricky and Jen Scordo. I admire them separately. I admire them together. This is a tough business we're in. Tyrone is driving a full-time show for the first time in sports radio. Jen, I think Jen's great. I love Jen, and I think Ricky. Just from what I'm hearing and what people are talking about, seems like Ricky has really, doing a good job. So you need some type of consistency, and the ratings actually have gotten better, I believe. So the right move, and I would have done the same thing. I would have left it. I would have left the show as it is and let them grow. Let them continue to grow. And you need to grow shows. You just can't expect a show to go on the air and boom, all of a sudden it's getting 15 shares and they're beating everybody. So I think I think that's the right move, and that's what I would have done. From there, I don't know who they're going to hire, and I have to assume it's going to be for a midday spot, but I don't know. I don't know if they know right now. I don't know. Is it a possibility that it would be me? I can't speak to the Fanatic for contractual reasons until April 1st, even to talk about it. The feel I get is like maybe it would be a possibility, but I just don't know. I don't know. I really don't know what the right move is for me. And it would have to be something that I felt really, really good about. I'm just not going to, and this is even if they were interested in me. I don't even know if they're interested in me, but it would have to be something that I would feel like could work, that I would be happy, and that we could win. Right? That I could put on a great show. And I don't know. So I never worked for the company that currently owns the Fanatic, Beasley Broadcasting Group. The management over there, there's a lot of people that I worked with. It was Greater Media when I left, and then Beasley had bought Greater Media out pretty much like a month after the deal settled, like a month after I left. But I hear nothing but good things about everybody over there. A lot of my old friends from Greater Media are still there. There's a lot of colleagues that I have outside of the programming department that are active on text message with me. So that's why I can say I kind of have an idea. And I'm not saying I have any of this information from anybody from programming or sales. What I'm saying, because I don't know even if the salespeople know about it, but what I'm saying is that, they're interested in me coming over there. And I just don't know if it's going to work out. This business is about timing so much. And if things don't align, contracts are for years, right? You're constantly looking ahead to like, all right, well, in 2 years, where am I going to be with this? And it was like with my situation, all right? Like they knew that I was most likely leaving. So they're looking and saying like, all right, 6 months from now, we're going to need a host for afternoons. What are we going to do? Is it going to be Jack? All right. Like Jack could do it, but like, can we get somebody else? Same thing with mornings with Angela. They're moving to camera. Like you're always looking ahead. So if Jack leaves, if I stayed, Jack was going to go work nights. At least that was the plan. So now Jack isn't working nights. Hunter Brody gets hired. And is he the night guy? He's actually heard from Northeast Philly today, reported to me that he was the night guy. And I had to actually text Hunter. And I'm like, yo, dude, they didn't officially name you night guy, right? And he's like, no. So I'm like, oh, well, Herb reported that to me not long ago. So I just figured, but like when they hired him, in my head, it was, yeah, he could be the next guy. Hunter could be the next guy. If I leave, Jack stays afternoon drive, and then Hunter becomes the night guy. So, but getting back to the Fanatic, I think that afternoons is good, depending on what they do. Middays, I don't know, or I'm not going to divulge a lot more information, but I'll just say the rest of the day parts are going to switch up a little bit. And I don't believe anybody's losing their job. At least that's what that is what I have not only maybe heard, but also just some common sense from somebody that knows the business and knows what's going on in the city. So there you go. Can't listen to WIP. Not a fan of Joe and James. Need IRL. But do you listen to it? See, I hear a lot of people, with Angelo for years, you would hear it. I hate Angelo. That dude was doing monster ratings for years. Somebody's listening to it. Yeah. Well, that's why instead of reporting it, I went right to the source. And I just went right to the source. So yeah, and well, there's Mike Keller, who Mike Keller started back today up in Reading at his station WEEU. 8:30 a.m. I listened to him this morning. And congratulations, Mike. There we go. Mike Gill is a name that's been mentioned. He's been down in Atlantic City for many, many years. Mike Gill. And I don't know if I know Mike. I was on his show last couple weeks in a row, since I have a lot of time on my hands, and more on that in a second. But I think Mike's excellent. Mike would make a good host up here. He would make a very good host up here. He's actually in Vegas. He's leaving Vegas tomorrow or tonight. Yeah, tomorrow. So he's leaving, but we're going to talk to him hopefully like Thursday, Friday, so he can kind of give us what the scene looks like in Vegas, because it never rains in Vegas, and now they're getting all this rain. Southern California down to Nevada, everybody's getting rain they never get. They're getting like their yearly rainfall over the course of the next couple of days. So just what you're thinking if you're the media going to Vegas, like, yeah, man, it'll be dry. Nah, be dry and the weather won't be too bad. Nah, it's raining. So there you go. But yeah, so Mike Gill will check in later on with the week. So for talk about having time on my hands, man. If you have a podcast that nobody listens to, if you ask me, I'll probably come on it. I did that before, but I've been doing a lot of the podcast circuits today, and this isn't no one listens to this podcast. This is Pat Gallen. I recorded it today. It airs on channel 57. It's the CW. I almost called it Philly 57 because that's how I remember it. Saturday at 8 p.m. He does a podcast, but it's a video podcast. So it goes up digitally, but you can also watch it on TV. So I did a good long 25 minutes with Pat. So that'll air. I drove down to CBS 3 today. That will air on Saturday at 8 p.m. I've known Pat a long time. I've known Pat, 15 years, maybe right around there when he was trying to break into the business and I was young in the business. So we had the guys that I've worked with for a long time and I know very well, we're normally pretty good in that type of environment. And it was really, really good. It was fun. So I did that. Now tomorrow, we talked about it last week. And I actually had my old pal, Dr. Melissa, that worked at the Fanatic. She texted me because we talked about it. She said, you got to get Mike Miss on. I talked about it and I said, yeah, like, should I ask Mike to come on? Because he never asked me to come on his podcast. And I understood that when I was working at WIP, like I wouldn't ask them to come on the podcast either, right? But now that I, am a free agent and I'm bored, right? Like I was wondering if he would ask me. So I just brought it up last week and I got a lot of feedback saying absolutely, absolutely. And that motherfucker, the next day, his producer, Darren DeGaetano, sends me a text and says, hey, you want to come on Mike's podcast? So I'm sure he saw feedback and now he's going to get the views. I could have brought him on here and I had maybe 5,000 views. He screwed me. He asked me first. It's like breaking up with the girl first. Oh, she broke up with you. So she broke up with you, even though you wanted to break up with her. You don't get credit for the breakup. So now he asked me, I'm not going to get credit. I got to somehow weasel YouTube views off of this. All these things matter in my life now, the YouTube views. And thank you. Yes, I was on with Black Gritty last Tuesday again. And that was a great hour. I was on with Mad Mike. Gritty does a great job with his setup. Frankly, I need him to produce my show. But he was it was unbelievable. Yeah, so I'm going to record it tomorrow. And I think they have it up by like 3-4 o'clock. So I will be on Mike Missanelli's podcast tomorrow. How about that? Anybody interested in that? I think it's going to be, he even asked me, texted me and said, is anything you want to steer clear from? And Kevin Kincaid actually asked me the same thing before I went on with him right after I left WIP. And I said, dude, let's talk about everything. I don't give a damn. So I don't know if there'll be the same kind of emotion with Mike tomorrow, but he's going to question me because he's already done it via text message. He's already asked me probing questions via text message with a lot of different stuff. And then, am I going to call him? I might. And then the other thing is, does Mike want to get back on the radio? I know he wants to get back on the radio. I know it. The podcasting stuff and everything else is one thing. Here's the thing I miss about being on the air. That I can't, and I guess you could take phone calls over YouTube. Again, I don't even know. I'm going to try to figure this out. But I miss not being able to come on with like a really good or funny take, or just knowing that I can come on and people are ready to talk. Because that's the best feeling is when you're hosting a radio show and you know that you're going to go on the air and people are going to be ready to go. And it's going to be fun. When you have not even like the main feature of it, like right now talking about going on Mike Missanelli's podcast, or talking about the Fanatic stuff, or talking about sports radio. Like, I really enjoy talking about this kind of stuff. I do. Obviously the sports is there, but how long can I go on Joel Embiid injuring his knee again? Like, am I going to be like, am I doing a topic of, oh, the Sixers are screwed. They should just trade him right now. Should they trade him right now? Like, man, I don't know. They should trade him right now. Well, I shouldn't trade him right now, but you know what I mean. All right. We'll get to all that stuff. But so if Bayless brings up a good point. So I have spoken about this numerous times now on the air, and I've addressed this personally with Mike. And I feel like that it is, I feel like that it's closed and it doesn't need to be brought up again. But if this is something that it needs to be brought up in the course of the conversation, I will. And if he brings it up, I'll obviously talk about it. But I don't need to, just for his podcast, I don't need to come on and rehash things that have already been resolved between the two of us. But yeah, I mean, that was something that was a big deal to me for a long time. And I was pissed. So, I'll just leave it like that. I was pissed. So, the Cuz, absolutely. The Cuz is in Vegas this week. I guess he's doing like a special meat locker or whatever he does with Baldy. The show they do is really good. Really, really good. I love Baldy. And Baldy, I don't know if people realize this, all of a sudden Baldy just stopped being on the Marks and Reese show. Well, that's because he signed with All City, with PHLY. And they're like, no, that's competitor. He can't do both. So Baldy just stopped coming on our show and stopped coming on our station. But I love the show that they do. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, absolutely. Would love to have the Cuz on. Marks and Miss. Ooh, this has been brought up to me before. Somebody even opined that maybe Mike's trying to cozy up to me because he sees it as a viable show to get on. Could you imagine? It would have to be missing Marks. He's not going to let me get first billing, right? I feel like that it's still going to be weird to go on there, and because I've never felt like an equal to him, because I was never an equal to him. I was his producer. He wouldn't even call me his co-host. This is early, Mike. 8 through 2012. In fact, he told me on the air, "You're not a co-host of the show. You're my producer." I was like, "All right, that's cool." But so I've never felt as an equal to Mike. So I think tomorrow I'm going to feel like an equal. Maybe. I mean, I was not working with Anthony and Maureen and Jamie. I had already left, so I can't comment what happened with MCW. All I can say is that it is, it's commonplace in radio that if management comes in and new management had come in, new owners came in, if they say, "Hey, I don't think this is working," or "I think we need to move," like whatever the reason is, then they do it. And for them, it's an easy decision. And it happens all the time. So I don't know. I don't know if ratings were going down or they just were listening and they said, "No, we need to change things up." But I love Maureen. She's awesome. That was an interesting time working with Anthony and Jamie. I love the guys. I do. We went to the Wentz draft in Chicago. I talked about this. If you didn't catch the Jamie Lynch episode on YouTube, you should check it out. It's a couple weeks ago, but really most of the conversation is I try to do 10, 15 minutes of sports and then I just try to bullshit. It always works after that. Well, like with Jamie, we just talked about radio stuff and working together, and we were in Chicago at the draft, and we were dressed like Eagle fan idiots, and we see Jesse Jackson walking towards us at the draft in where they had it in the hall they had it, and Jamie goes, "Yo, Rev, big fan. Can we get a pic?" And then we took a picture with Jesse Jackson. It was the Reverend Jesse Jackson. It was awesome. So yeah. So it was fun. It was that was an interesting time, because that was the first real competitor to Angelo at WIP. That was I worked on the first morning shows at, you got to remember, 9:50 a.m. was where it originated, and then Mike was there for maybe a year and a half before they flipped to 97.5 FM. So they flipped to FM in all part because of Mike and what he brought to the station and the success he brought to the station. But I was a part of morning shows on 950. I was the producer of morning shows on 950 through a couple different hosts, Michael Bradley and Glenn Foley, Greg Henson. Before that, I worked with Meredith Marakovitz, who now is up in New York for the Yes Network. She was our update girl right out of school. Just graduated, and she was so talented. But really, like Anthony Cummins was the first real, hey, we're going to try to beat you. And I know we got really close. It was, it was a couple months in, and we were close. And then I think Spike took over WIP and made some adjustments and kind of went from there. And Angelo was slipping, and Spike came in and really changed that show around. So so that's we were right there. It was a good show. It definitely was a good show. Do I think anybody else is gonna? Not that I'm hearing. No, I don't think so. They seem pretty happy with the lineup. It's just maybe a matter now of switching things around to see if they can switch things around to maybe change things up and have a little bit better of ratings. Like you'll see the Crossing Broad post, and you'll see the ratings on Crossing Broad or wherever else. And like WIP absolutely thumps the Fanatic, especially when the Phillies are really good, especially during Eagle season. I mean, they're a monster. WIP's a monster. And by the way, it wasn't always like that. I was a part of the rebuild that totally turned the station around. But it feels like the Fanatic just wants to be competitive. And like there's a space for a second sports talk station in the city. There just is. That's like there's room for the Fanatic, and there's room for the Fanatic to grow as well. I don't know how competitive they really care about being as far as the ratings. And at this point in this business, ratings are great. Revenue is what drives everything. So if they're thinking we're good revenue wise, then there's not a lot of reason to move on from somebody or move on from a show. So they seem relatively happy with everything, at least everything that I'm hearing. Again, they're going to move some stuff around, but that's kind of where they stand right now. Guy from Lehigh Valley. You talking about Dan Schwartzman? He wasn't from the Lehigh Valley. Mike Keller is from the Reading area, from the Lehigh Valley, and went to New York. No idea. Yeah, Mark Farzetta at the Fanatic's interesting because he had more success than any of these other morning shows. I can tell you that. Even without Trey, like what I had heard was they were just kind of unhappy with. He was kind of a show's over, I'm gone kind of guy. He probably likes to do a lot of his preparation at home. I really just think that they wanted John Kincaid, and that's why they moved off of it, because their ratings were actually pretty good with Mark. He did a really good job with that show. So he's very happy doing his own thing right now. I'm a fan, and he was very good. Oh, all right. So here's who we're talking about. Sean Brace was from the Scranton area, but he didn't move up to New York. He's actually hosting a show on Fox Sports the Gambler. If you have a radio signal, you have to hold your left foot up with a hanger in your right hand on a roof to get it. It's a signal that doesn't carry very far. You should try to listen on the iHeartRadio app, the Fox Sports The Gambler in Philadelphia. So that's what he's been doing for the last couple of years. He's the program director and he hosts the afternoon show on there called The Daily Ticket. Sean was my partner. We did weekends for a long time. We did Saturday mornings. We started off calling the show Wake and Bake, but then upper management, once the show became popular, upper management, when we moved to a day part, Monday through Friday day part, did not approve of the name Wake and Bake, which I think was a problem with them. Dwayne from Swedesboro. That's an excellent idea. Well, I'll say this, and I'll set the record straight. Mike Missanelli knew nothing about Dwayne from Swedesboro at all. He did not know. Dwayne from Swedesboro actually started with me and the Sound Off line. Pat Egan did a character for me that ended up developing into Dwayne from Swedesboro. And Dwayne from Swedesboro was always supposed to be a Jamie Kennedy, Malibu's Most Wanted white guy. That's who he was being. And Mike would never take the bait. Because I used to say to Mike on the air, yo, I think he's white. And then Mike would say, nah, he's a brother. And then what happened was it just got out of control. And they were trying to, you keep coming on and you keep having to top yourself. Otherwise it gets boring. And Mike loved it. So Martinez would bring him on a lot. It was funny. But then Pat's having to outdo himself. And then when it's all said and done, it looks like it was racist. And I've known Pat Egan for a long time. He was my intern. It was not racist. This was a bit that we came up with, and it was always supposed to be a Jamie Kennedy white guy. And for whatever reason, it got to where it got, and I had nothing to do with that. I was long gone. But Dwayne from Swedesboro, Mike knew nothing about. Pat used to sit behind Mike. So in the Fanatic studio where Mike sits, behind Mike, there's another studio with a glass case. It's a production studio. So Pat used to sit back there on a landline and look at Mike while Mike was, what is his bubble? While Mike was taking the phone call. And then people would sit there and watch and laugh. And I said to him, dude, you're getting greedy doing this. You're getting greedy. This is too much. It's getting out of control. And then not long after all this stuff went down. So it looks really bad. Mike did not know about it. It was never designed to be this racist bit. It was supposed to be a white guy, which is crazy. A lot of Dan Schwartzman love out there. Yeah, I talked to Dan. Dan called me after I left WIP. Dan was a guy that worked middays and nights and some other shifts at the Fanatic. And I'm a huge Dan Schwartzman fan. Big fan on and off the air. I think he's very talented. I wish he still did radio. He's funny. But he called me and he said, don't bullshit me. This is about money. And I'm like, bro, it's not. No, I'm like, it's not just about money. No. Money was third on the list. The financials were third on the list, which, by the way, I had a very well-paying job. Just saying, I was so freaking miserable with my commute, my quality of life. I wanted to be paid more or I was leaving. It's simple. That's what I did. And Josh Innes. Now, see, these are more things for when he's going to have to come on my podcast, and I'm going to have to ask him, right? Doesn't that sound more interesting? Him interviewing me will be fun, and Mike's very good at it. Me interviewing Mike on here about the Josh Innes stuff, because I wasn't working with Mike with the Josh Innes stuff. I was at the station. And I remember working with the Cuz. The Cuz wanted to kill Josh Innes because Justin Franiak had and I know Justin now, he had the Cuz bit where he would do the fake Cuz, and it was so funny. But Anthony got so mad, and I don't blame him. But yeah, so that was an uncomfortable time. Josh really made everybody in the city uncomfortable. Everybody in our business. made him uncomfortable because he didn't give a shit and he would come after you, and it comes after everybody, gives them content. So we kind of, it was a I think it was a bad day for radio, and he got out of control, and I'm sure that he learned a lot from that. But it was a good day for us to get him the hell out of the city. He was a pain in the ass, Josh Innes. And he's very good at it. That's what I said. It's bad for radio. It's bad for listeners because he gave you something. And I'm sure the second time around he would maybe do it a little bit different. Yeah, so that's kind of our radio segment. I'm gonna get Kevin Kincaid from Crossing Broad on later this week, so we can kind of kick around some radio stuff and some other media things, as we both like doing that. All right, couple more things here, and then we're out. Excuse me. Again, comments on. I'm sorry, I got to get rid of this hide current comment. Thank you. All right. So again, also if you're watching this not live, and even if you are watching it live, comment on it. If you're on YouTube, comment on it. I want to see what people have to say. Get some banter going in the comments. I love seeing it. So comment. Again, my email. So it's been scrolling the whole time. I'm supposed to alternate. Check this out. I could be like, phew, 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 right? I'm learning this stuff. Totally. I can do that right there. Again, shopeverylittledetail.com. Custom made shirts of all types. It's my wife's website and business. So check that out. Which one do I want to put here? No, I want to get rid of that one. There we go. No. All right, where is it? Yeah, so email me. Everything from YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, email is John Marks Media. John Marks Media at Gmail, and then at John Marks Media for all the other things. So email me. Say hello. Tell me how you like this. All right. Every night, 9 p.m. It's going to go about an hour. We'll have guests on sometimes. Tonight, I just didn't feel like talking to anybody else. I had enough stuff to talk about here by myself. But we'll check in Vegas later on this week. Kevin Kincaid's going to join us. Herb. Again, Herb is, should we text Herb live on the air? Let me see. Let me see. Okay, so I text him. I said, "What's your schedule this week?" So I trying to get him on. And he said, "Off tomorrow, Wednesday, tomorrow, doctor, 11 a.m. pulmonary at night." So Wednesday he's available anytime. So I conceivably could do an early call with him and then just have it archived for everybody. I'm just gonna type in "Hi Herb" and see if he says anything. All right, Uncle Jamie also checks it and says, "All right, you convinced me. We need to do Uncle Jamie. Jonathan Marks, 15 minutes on your show. I'll be entertaining, I promise." Uncle Jamie, I'm in. He texted this to me a while ago. Yep. Uncle Jamie, who was, listen, a lot of people were saying big loss for the Marks and Reese show. He was an unofficial producer on the show. So absolutely. All right. Here's one. What's up with the barbershop? All right. Glad you're asking that. It's progressing. So again, I am hesitant to talk about anything before there's dots, I's dotted and T's crossed. But yeah, I think that there'll be some things to talk about coming up soon. Thanks for asking. My man Bill C, who, by the way, if you're a Fanatic listener or you're not, but you're in the car on Saturday and Sunday mornings, your new morning guy. 8 or 9 o'clock. I think it's 9 o'clock right now. Check him out. Saturdays and Sundays. And man, he fires on the Eagles. Got the Legal Hands to the Face podcast. Also is on Jacob Media every day, doing an hour on the Eagles. Got to check him out. He is the man. What happened to Tony? I worked with Tony for a year as his co-host, and I love Tony. I'm a huge Tony fan, more as a listener than as working with him. But I've been a huge fan of Tony for decades. So he's doing like Joe Mama Sports Talk or something right now. Let me see. I forget what it's called. Big Mama. So Tony Bruno right now is on the Big Mama radio network. And you know why? Because Tony loves doing shows. And I respect the hell out of him for it. he loves performing. So he is I think it's called, in Florida, there's a radio host that, like, I don't know if he left or he got laid off or whatever. So he started his own network with a bunch of shows and stuff. So Tony does a show every day. So just, I mean, sure, if you go to his Twitter page or something, I don't know, whatever. So, but back to Bill's content. He says in bed by 8:15. Yeah. Well, so like, you boys, I think, Bill, I have little girls and they are exhausted. And as long as we get upstairs, they were actually in bed by 7:45. I was out of the room tonight because we have a busy day tomorrow. They have double activities after school. So it's the baby that's going to be a problem tonight. She's going to be sleeping on me on the lazy boy. I told my wife 10 o'clock I'd be up to take over for her. So, yeah, and by the way, I love Tony and Harry. I love that show. I talked about it with Harry when we had him on. And that's another archived video for you guys to watch on the YouTube. Harry's awesome. Harry and Tony was great. I love Tony's nighttime shows, Into the Night, which was on, I guess, 10 p.m. back on the old 97.5, was an awesome show. He did a show with Mark Willard that was at 9 a.m. Eastern, a national show, and we carried that on 9:50 a.m. That was probably his best show, probably my most favorite show that he did. And many, many years ago, he was I don't know if people know this. Angelo started out, it was the morning guys. It was Angelo, Tony, and Al. And then Tony left. He went to do national radio. So it was left Angelo and Al, and then it just became Angelo, and Al became Al. You know what I mean? It became all about Angelo. But the first couple of years, it was Angelo and Tom Brookshire. And then it was the morning guys, Angelo, Tony, and Al. I love that show. That was a great show. That was like 90. That was the 93 season of the Phillies. I remember listening to those guys. They were fun. So that's right around the time period that they were on the air. And, you know, Angelo then became the main man, and it became all about Angelo. And that's really, I mean, honestly, and that's when I stopped listening to the show. I couldn't take it. I liked it with Tony. So, but yeah, so I've been a Tony Bruno fan for a long, long time. Jason Martinez has been asked on more than a few occasions to come on the program. He was just very busy because it was alumni week and he was having to tape interviews and stuff like that. So he's actually been very, very helpful in doing the StreamYard and helping him out with some of the technical stuff. So Jason's going to come on soon for sure. Listen, if you were to ask me if you could pick people that you'd like to work with before you retire, Jason and Harry would be, boom, maybe 1 and 2. I love those guys. I feel like we would do an awesome show. All right, there's Herb responding back. Herb's at the Wells Fargo. So Herb drives a bus for the Wells Fargo Center employees. He's working till noon. He's currently texting me right now. All right, Herb, thank you. All right, so comment. I'm looking for a producer, a non-paid producer that knows something about doing this. So reach out to me. All right, last thing here. I got to pull off the sharing again. How many people watched the Grammys last night? Anybody? I didn't. And frankly, I didn't even. I guess I saw like when it was on last night, but I went to bed pretty early. I was knocked out. And my kid was up the whole night again, but yeah. So I didn't really care, honestly, but then I saw this, and Ryan Hickey is he's a producer and host for CBS Sports Radio, and he's awesome. I love him. But he puts this: I can't be the only one out there to not know that Luke Combs didn't write Fast Car. A lot that I should know, I don't, but this isn't high on the list. So, and you know what? I meant to text him before I went on the air. I absolutely support him on this. How many people out there, and this is going to all depend on your age. Tracy Chapman, Fast Car, is 90s, 30 years ago. Right? Is it Luke Combs? He puts it out as a huge country hit. Of course, people that are under 35 don't know unless they're big music fans, or maybe they know for a reason. I knew it. I was in high school when it came out. But and I get annoyed when I hear Luke Combs. So I'm like, oh man, they're gonna, but he's actually pretty good, right? But it's an awesome song. Tracy Chapman's amazing, but it's not like, I mean, she wasn't. This isn't the Red Hot Chili Peppers putting out a song in 1992 and they had hit after hit after hit after hit. Tracy Chapman's a big star, but unless you're a real Tracy Chapman fan, I don't know what the hell she's been doing the last 25 years. 1989. So anyway, so like this isn't. I don't think it's crazy that he didn't know what it was, and he was getting criticized. He was on the air with it last night. He actually took over for the shift that I got fired from, but it's good content for that shift. So yeah, I mean, I knew, but I know a lot of people didn't. So let me try to. I have a little bit of the. Do I have it here? I think I have it here. Let's see.
I got a job that pays all our bills. Stay out drinking behind the bar.
Yeah, see, that's awesome.
You do your kids. I'd always hope for better.
She's such an amazing voice.
Maybe together, you and me find it. I got no plans. I ain't going nowhere.
Gives me the song. Give you the chills. Am I just? You definitely have to be driving by yourself. The windows up, kind of tearing up to yourself in the car. Anybody else do that? That and what's the other one I do that too? I don't want to wait for my life to be over. It's roll up the windows, make sure no one's looking. Maybe shed a tear or two. What's another one I do that too? Time of My Life, the Dirty Dancing song. That doesn't get you emotional? When I put my dog to sleep, this is a true story too. When I put my dog to sleep, I drove to WIP. I might have still been working nights at the time. So it was early in my WIP tenure. And I drove and I was just like crying the whole way, listening to Had the Time of My Life. God, it's so weird to say out loud, but it's true. Sorry, everybody. All right, so that's all I got for tonight. Do I have the right banner up there? Yeah, so everybody, thank you. Subscribe every night at 9 p.m., every Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. I'm going to do this. I'll be consistently here every night. I thank everybody for watching and subscribing. We're growing as a YouTube show. Sponsors are going to be coming on soon. I'm working out the technical stuff and really improving the page because this looks like what I'm going to be doing going forward. So again, everybody, thank you. Visit shopeverylittledetail.com, especially for Valentine's Day. Here's one cool thing my wife did. For her birthday, she turned 40. She put 1984. That's the year where she was born. And that's what she wore on her birthday. And it was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Because, yeah, she was born in 84. So it's just like she got really, really quality and good stuff. So check it out. shopeverylittledetail.com. There's sports stuff. There's mom stuff. There's Valentine's Day stuff. There's kid stuff. Check it out. shopeverylittledetail.com. I'm on with Mike tomorrow. So we'll talk to you after that. So Mike's tomorrow, and then I'll recap it tomorrow night on the show. Everybody, have a good night. Be safe.